Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to The Discriminating Gamer, the board game review show that was always a little more Tibbs than Crockett. Ladies and gentlemen, today we're going to go ahead and take a look at this kind of big behemoth that is Hasbro, Wizards of the Coast, Avalon Hill. That's right, I'm lumping them all together because it is the same company, and I'm going to go ahead and give you my top 5 games from Hasbro, Wizards of the Coast, Avalon Hill. Let's go ahead and take a look. Now, I'm going to go ahead and, before I get started, I do want to do some honorable mentions here because there's so many games from this company that I really have enjoyed over the years. First of all, I would like to mention Castle Ravenloft. Castle Ravenloft, of course, is a dungeon crawl adventure. It was a pretty good one. I really enjoyed it. I think, for me, it's been a little more... there have been other games that have kind of surpassed it since then, but I really enjoyed it when I played it, and it was a lot of fun, and that's a game I have some very fond memories of. Of course, I would also like to mention Betrayal at Baldur's Gate, which recently came out, which is, of course, a dungeon crawl, but there's a haunt and a traitor. It's a lot of fun there. And then a couple of Risk games I want to give a shout out to. The first is Risk Europe, which was a very good kind of medieval version of Risk, where you're running around and you're trying to conquer various capital cities, but you also have special abilities and a little bit of asymmetrical stuff going on, so that was very cool too. And then of course Star Wars Risk, which really isn't Risk at all, but you've got 3 different kind of things going on. You've got the Moon of Endor battle, you've got the space battle to take out the Death Star, and then you have the confrontation between Luke and Darth Vader on the Death Star. And it's a very fun game because each battle kind of affects what's going on the others. Very fun. So let's go ahead now and jump into my top 5 games. Okay, so number 5 is Lords of Waterdeep. Lords of Waterdeep was one of the first worker placement games I played, and I really enjoyed it. I remember the first time I saw this game played, I'm like, I don't get it at all. I remember it was the night of the Dark Knight Rises. It was the last, Dark Knight Rises. It was the night that opened, and it was going to see a midnight showing, and I went to a game store that was near the theater, but it was like nearly midnight. I'm like, why? I can't believe they're open. Turned out they were going to see that movie too, and they just thought they'd stay open and play games. And I went in there, and they were playing Lords of Waterdeep, and it just didn't even look like it made any sense to me. And then not long after that, I was at Salt Lake Comic Con. My friend Kevin taught me how to play it, and I really enjoyed it. I played it several times since. I own the expansion, but I have never played with the expansion, and everyone tells me you need to play with the expansion. It's so much better, so I'm going to. That's a priority. I'm going to play Lords of Waterdeep with an expansion. So Lords of Waterdeep, that is my number 5 from Hasbro Wizards of the Coast, Avalon Hill. My number 4 game from Hasbro Wizards of the Coast, Avalon Hill is Betrayal at House on the Hill. Now, I mentioned Betrayal at Baldur's Gate a little earlier. This is, of course, the Haunted House version of it, the original version of it. And this is great because, again, you explore this house, you go in with various characters, you explore the house, you try to find, various item cards and various other things pop up, and then ultimately, of course, you find you do something that's going to trigger the haunt, and you get a hidden traitor, and one of you kind of has to become the traitor, and the game radically changes. And this is not, to me, this is a game that I play not so much as a game, so much as kind of an experience, so much as kind of a what's going to happen, and it's fun and I enjoy it. But this is never a game I'm sad that I lose. It's just a game that's a fun, good experience, and some of my best gaming moments have centered around this game. I had a lot of fun back in the day when we first started playing this game. And I should point out, I think, if memory serves, this is the very first game a company ever sent me to review when I reviewed it for the Deseret News, 6 or 7 years ago. I think this is the very first review copy I ever received. So it's got a special place in my heart. But I really enjoy it. It's just a whole lot of fun. That is Betrayal at House on the Hill from Hasbro Wizards of the Coast, Avalon Hill. My number 3 game is actually an older Avalon Hill title. So this one actually dates back to the 70s, before it was Hasbro Wizards of the Coast, Avalon Hill. But nevertheless, I'm including it in here because it is Avalon Hill, and it's a whole lot of fun. And this is Origins of World War II. Now, I've talked about this game a few times on the channel. This is a super fun game. It's not a war game. It's kind of a political diplomatic game. There's some negotiation. But it's very fun and a lot of strategy, and it only plays in about an hour. It's a very simple game, and I would love to see this game get a reprint. And I really hope somebody out there is listening in the publishing world and willing to reprint Origins of World War II, because it's absolutely fantastic. And I think you could update it and maybe add some new mechanics or not, or just play it the way it is originally. Either way, it's fantastic. But I really enjoy Origins of World War II, and that is my number 3. That's from Hasbro Wizards of the Coast Avalon Hill. My number 2 game from Hasbro Wizards of the Coast Avalon Hill is Axis and Allies. Now, I could be talking about all of the Axis and Allies titles here, but I'll just concentrate on the Anniversary Edition, which is probably my favorite way to play Axis and Allies. It's the world map, but it's very detailed. You've got different starting scenarios, I think 41 and 42. You've got, it's just a very grand strategic game. I played it again not long ago. They came out with it years ago, and then they discontinued it. Then it was out of print for a while. Then it came out again, and I reviewed it. And I remember how much fun this game is. And in some ways, it's kind of showing its age. I mean, because it is just buying stuff, dice chucking, conquering. But it's still a lot of fun. It's World War II, so it's always close to my heart. And I've been playing Axis and Allies since I was 12 years old. Again, if you've watched the channel at all, I'm working on my PhD in history right now with an emphasis on World War II. And it was playing Axis and Allies as a 12-year-old that really first excited my love for history and kind of set me on this path for good or ill. But I love Axis and Allies. I love playing it. The Anniversary Edition is fantastic, but there are many other wonderful editions and versions of this game out there. So that is my number 2. Axis and Allies, we'll say Anniversary Edition, from Hasbro Wizards of the Coast, Avalon Hill. And finally, my number 1 game from Hasbro Wizards of the Coast, Avalon Hill. This is a game that, again, I reviewed for the Deseret News years ago, probably 6 years ago, I'll say. And it was a game that, when I saw it, I thought, okay, this could be fun, and I was looking forward to it, and I had no idea how much I would love this game. And to this day, I've still not done a review on The Discriminating Gamer, and I keep thinking at some point I need to sit down and do it, because I do love this game so much. It is frequently in my top 10, or right around my top 10. I think it may be just out of my top 10, like 11 or 12 in that area here, usually. But it is just a phenomenal game. It's a lot like Axis and Allies, but it's got a little more spice, a little more sugar in it than Axis and Allies. This is Conquest of Nerath. Conquest of Nerath is kind of a Dungeons and Dragons version of Axis and Allies. You have, instead of tanks and airplanes, you have monsters and dragons, and you have all sorts of dice that you roll, different kinds of dice. But in addition to that, you also have kind of heroes, champions that can actually go into dungeons and try to do these kind of dungeon quests and gain experience and gain treasures and different items and different weapons. So there's a lot of different really, really cool things you can do in this game. But it's just a whole lot of fun. Again, it's a dice chucker, and I love dice chuckers. This is a game that, whenever I think about it, I get a smile on my face, because it's another game played several times, and I can remember back in the day when I was playing with my buddies, and we just ate this game up. So that is Conquest of Nerath, my number 1 game from Hasbro Wizards of the Coast, Avalon Hill. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for joining us today on The Discriminating Gamer. As always, we ask you to please leave a comment for us on YouTube, on Board Game Geek, on our Facebook page, or on thediscriminatinggamer.com. We ask you to please like us on Facebook, subscribe to us on YouTube, and follow us on Twitter. I'd be very pleased to hear you say what your favorite game from Hasbro Wizards of the Coast Avalon Hill is, and maybe what companies you'd like me to take a look at in the future. So thank you very much once again for joining us. And, speaking of Miami Vice, I remember when the season finale aired, I came home late, I turned it on, I missed the first couple of minutes, and, I almost missed the entire show. James Edward. Oh, yeah, you get it.
Please somebody help me on my feet again, and I don't know where I'm going, and I don't know where I've been. Please somebody help me on the solid ground. It's a long time, and I'll be dying. Once a year I wind up in the band.
Hey, I was just editing this video, and I remembered another great game that I absolutely love from Hasbro Wizards of the Coast and Avalon Hill, and that is Battle Cry. I actually bought a copy of Battle Cry right after it came out. Absolutely fell in love with it. It's a Commands and Colors game. You got the 3 flanks. You're playing the cards to advance on the different flanks, and Cavalry really doesn't work like that. But it's really a lot of fun. I really, really like this game. In fact, I ended up giving it to Zach when I moved down here to Texas, and I remembered I really do like that game. In fact, when I went back to Salt Lake and I visited him and we played it, and I go, I love this game. So I actually, when I came back, I found it at a reasonable price, and I picked it up again. But it is just a fantastic game. Another honorable mention goes to Battlecry.